So another one of the things that we wanted to make a more exciting moment in our game was the concept of the big ass-kicking boss that at a certain point in the game, a bunch of high-level heroes go out and attack. And when you kill the enemy, like you get some kind of buff and you get some kind of item, and it sort of gets the gameplay that you want, but it's a lot of like power without gameplay. So we decided to do something a little bit more interesting for our game. Here you can see is our Stone Zealot, which I believe that our artists actually want to change into some like mechanical cyber ninja, but that's totally up to them. I mean, I kind of like the Stone Zealot. So you can see here it actually takes our 3 high-level heroes quite a long time to destroy this Stone Zealot, and it's still a lot of commitment in that they have to stay out of the lanes. However, the difference is though that when you actually kill it, he thinks that you're awesome. And then he restores all of his health, and he actually walks down the lane to go and fight for you. Now, you can imagine at this point that the enemy is kind of shaking in their boots because there's a global announcement, and you can see this like red skull moving down the mini-map, so it really just forces a team fight. And then this guy, like, he kicks a lot of ass. I mean, like, you fought him earlier, so you kind of see what he does. Like, he actually outranges, like, minions and stuff. And by himself, he actually outranges towers. If the enemy team does not respond in time, you know, they're going to be pushed all the way back to their tower. We think that this is a more exciting gameplay than just getting a buff.
Final thing we're trying to do is we're trying to spice up the metagame by offering multiple maps. Initially, we were a little uneasy about this one. We'd kind of come to see the Dota map was always the same for a reason. It's like the football field or the basketball court. You don't change the shape of the field. You don't change the dimensions. But we started playing around with different maps, and we finally, you know, a lot of them really sucked at first, as you might expect. But you know, one day we came up with this design, and you know, we're not entirely happy with it. But what happened was we kind of had fun, and then we'd forgotten to update the loading screen image. It had the old map, so we were playing it again the next day. And we're all sitting in the same room, and we saw the old map's image come up, and there was like all these groans around the room, like, oh man, I got to play the old map. And suddenly, you know, the collective light bulb went off in our head, because like, hey, yeah, this is a really good angle to pursue. We need to have multiple maps. Game's still going to feel very familiar. It's going to feel like Dota, but you're going to get the change in timing. You're going to get change in strategies. You're going to get change in tempo.
Oh, and to sort of dogpile on that concept, I was actually one of the people that was very against the idea of making multiple maps. But when I was talking to one of our designers, Matt Cooper, about it, he actually summed it up really nicely. And I mean, he put it this way, like, we're making Blizzard Dota with multiple maps in mind. So all these maps are going to still play like Dota, but there's going to be a lot of cool variations in the gameplay itself. I mean, Johnny talked about like having multiple lanes. I mean, maybe you can have 4 lanes, maybe you can have 2 lanes, but what if you vary up the number of army nodes? What if you vary up where the Stone Zealot position is? What if you vary up where the actual base is? What if you spawn in a different location than where your base is? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there. I mean, all of us have played on, you know, Lost Temple like 10, 50, 100 times, but after the 100th time, it gets a little bit boring. We've got this really awesome StarCraft 2 map editor that lets us iterate through a lot of different maps very quickly, and we've got a lot of collective RTS map design, so we can really try a lot of different concepts. The final thing that I'd like to add is that one of the cool things about making multiple maps, it lets us explore a lot of potential different locations. Maybe you're fighting, you know, on Core Hall. Maybe you're fighting in Tristram. Maybe you're actually fighting in Onyxia's lair, and Onyxia is actually your big bad boss that you fight, and when you fight her, she actually fights for you.
So the final thing we really felt we had to attack, and maybe this one was the most important, was kind of what the genre has become really famous for, which is just the rage, the pure rage you get from your teammates, right? And, you know, and I think it's really easy to kind of hand wave it and just assume that Dota players tend to be chaotic evil, and that's the end of it. But we thought, well, maybe we need to kind of take responsibility as designers, and is there anything we're doing to kind of inflame them or create unnecessary tension? So the first thing we decided to attack was game length. Like the typical genre game lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes. So if one of your teammates is doing very poorly and you just get to play over your lunch hour, your lunch hour is gone, and you're probably a half hour in. So the stakes are way higher. You're very angry. So we've tried to really lower the average game length, and we've gotten it to about an average internally. We have no idea what's going to happen when you guys get a hold of it, but internally we've gotten our average game length to about 20 minutes, and it feels really good. We had some that have ended as soon as 10 minutes. And it doesn't feel bad. It feels really decisive. You're like, oh, okay, we kind of messed that up. It's over. And the pain is ended quickly. Some of our more epic ones last maybe like 30 minutes. But again, that feels kind of cool, feels kind of epic. But the thing is, I can get a couple in over my lunch hour. I can get a couple in when I get home before dinner. That's kind of what we're going for. The other thing was trying to remove very obvious conflict points. I mean, the obvious one is the carry. You walk into, you don't have to be a psychologist. If you walk into a group, it's like, hey, okay, one of you gets to be the superstar. The rest of you are his stooges. Who wants to be the superstar? Who wants to be the superstar? A lot of hands are going to go up, right? And even if you don't want the pressure of being the superstar, you kind of resent the fact that there's a superstar. And, I think we've all been trapped in that score screen chat room with super special guy who went 20-0, and he's getting a little cranky that we're all not telling him how amazing he is because he went 20-0 and we went 7-5. It's just a very bad design. So one of the things we fixed earlier is making towers much softer targets kind of fixed this for us. Now what happens is if I'm the guy in a solo in a lane, yeah, I'll get experience a little faster, I'll get more gold. But the other thing is the other team's like, hey, there's a guy alone by himself in a lane. Let's double team him. Let's try to get that tower down very quickly. So now, the solo guy actually has a lot of pressure now. It's kind of it's an important role, but it's not this super glorious superstar role. It's kind of like being a nose tackle in football. You're at the bottom of the pile a lot, but you're kind of like helping hold the battle line. The other thing we're trying to do is get rid of the concept of kills, deaths, and assists. It's just a horrible, horrible way to score this game. Imagine like if in the Dungeon Finder in WoW, the guy that got the last hit on every mob got all the loot and the experience. It would be a train wreck. You'd be at each other's throats. I mean, you're kind of at each other's throats sometimes to begin with, but yeah, it's something like that. It's insanity. So we got rid of the concept of kills, deaths, and assists, and we just replaced it with a takedown. 3 of us kill one guy. It doesn't matter who got the last hit, because that's really not important if you think about it. All 3 of us get a takedown. The experience and the gold, they're shared equally. And what it does is it kind of removes the individualism that the game is really kind of putting up front. And it's putting it away from a hardcore individual concept to a hardcore team concept. And we know, those of us that have played WoW, the hardcore team concept can be just as hardcore, if not more hardcore than the hardcore individual concept. But it's more gratifying, it's more exciting, because you're coming together as a team, and you're not really focused on who got the last hit or who got the most kills. You're focused on getting that enemy core down. And the final thing we really love about this is it allows us to reward unselfish play. So this is Uther. Now, when we first designed Uther, Uther couldn't kill you if you tried to help him kill you. That's how little damage he does. But what is awesome about Uther is he can really tip a team fight. He can really keep people alive. And when we first designed him, there were people in the room like, no one's going to play that. No, this game's about killing people. If I can't kill people, no, stupid. And we're like, well, let's try it. No, stupid. And, but once we kind of started adding these more team-oriented dynamics, like Rich mentioned earlier, we got rid of last hitting, we got rid of last hitting on heroes. He became one of the most popular heroes because, wow, he's like a franchise player. If you don't have an Uther or a Thrall on your team, man, you got to work way harder to stay alive in a group fight. If you get focus fired, oh man, it's ugly. So being able to kind of like make the heroes more distinct was a really nice side benefit, and to allow people to like play support, because that's a really fun role to play. So closing thoughts. It's out there on the show floor. What's out there? We're not finished yet. We're still kind of questioning things. We're still attacking some of these things. So what you see today may not be what you see when the beta comes out. But we really love you guys to go out and try it. We'd really love to hear your thoughts. And most importantly, we're really excited to see what you guys can create when you get a hold of these mod tools we've covered today.
And as a shameless plug, half an hour after this panel ends, the StarCraft 2 art team is actually going to be holding a panel to sort of preview some of the hero concepts that we are thinking of using for our heroes. And now we'd like to open up to Q&A. I'm not sure where the microphones are, but they're somewhere back there. Feel free to ask about any of the topics that we covered today, whether it's the new arcade, the cutscene editor, and the new art tools, or Blizzard Dota.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey guys, my name is Luke. I'm a big Dota player, so what I'm wondering is what about Blizzard Dota is going to make it compete with all of the already well-established Dota franchises out there, like Han, Dota 2 is going to be out, and League of Legends?
Well, I kind of just spent 20 minutes talking about that, but yeah, well, I guess what we're kind of going for.
What one thing is going to make this game the game to play Dota?
I guess the fact that it's just going to be way more intuitive, it's going to make a lot more sense to people, and you're going to be able to really focus on the gameplay itself rather than the wiki page next to your computer, if I had to guess.
I'm going to say that it gives you an opportunity to play Arthas and kick Kerrigan's ass. Like that's my reason.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Hi, so I had a chance to play the build that you guys have out on the show floor, and I think it's a great opportunity for people who haven't tried the genre to get into it. The simplicity is just really great. Are you concerned, though, that the lack of an immediate depth to the game is going to scare away veterans of the game mode, like existing versions of it?
Definitely. I mean, like at Blizzard, we always design for the hardcore first. And we kind of feel like Dota is already there. There is a really hardcore game. So what we've been really working at is just kind of like simplifying the learning curve. Yeah, I don't think you're going to have to play more than a couple of games when you start to see the depth that's still there.
Hey, I had a question about Dota. So I've had a lot of games ruined by people leaving. Is there going to be any reconnect feature or anything to punish people who leave your game?
Eventually, we do want to try to get reconnect into not just Dota, but StarCraft 2 in general. That probably won't make ship. However, it will come in the future. As far as punishing leavers, we are working on something that will hopefully discourage people from leaving, and it will affect their overall BattleNet status.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to add to that as well. Since the games are so short, they're like 10 to 20 minutes, leavers become less of a problem. Like if you're stuck in a game where it's gonna be an hour before you can actually quit, you're gonna want to leave, but 10 to 20 minutes, you'll stick around and just wait for the game to end.